somewhere in space. This may all be happening right now. Bad Robot Productions and J.J. Abrams, the man who brought you Star Trek, now bring you back to an adventure unlike anything on your planet. The Force Awakens.
This thing really moves!
The story of a boy, a girl, and the universe.
Is it?
It's a big cosmic epic of resistance and camaraderie. It's a marvel, light years ahead of its time. It's an epic of heroes. And villains.
What girl?
And aliens from 1,000 worlds.
General!
Force Awakens, a billion years in the making, and it's coming to your galaxy this Christmas.
December 18th, 2015. 10 years ago today, Star Wars The Force Awakens released in theaters worldwide, and it was the first Star Wars movie I had seen on the silver screen. I remember exactly what it was like that day. My mom had pre-ordered our tickets, and we went with my sister and my baby brother. The line around the movie theater was so long, it wrapped around almost 2 whole blocks. There were people inside and out the theater dressed in Star Wars attire and cosplay. There were tents in the hallway where people would camp for the day until their screen opened. Not gonna lie, it was one of the best days of my life. It was a massive cultural event where all these people came together excited for the new Star Wars movie. So when I get into this review, I'll be the first to admit that I am biased. I love this movie. I think it's really damn good, and I'm tired of pretending it's not. Over the past decade, there have been a slew of Jim Bro white boys who like to pretend they're too good for this movie and deny it was all that. And it always seems to be the same 3 arguments that I've heard throughout my life. 1, it's a ripoff of A New Hope. 2, it relies on nostalgia. 3, Rey's a Mary Sue, yada yada. Okay, 1, yeah, it's similar to A New Hope, and that was on purpose. I know a lot of prequel fanboys don't like to admit it, but the prequels were not well received at the time, so Lucasfilm wanted to play safe for the first movie before going nuts in Rogue One and Last Jedi. And even then, J.J. Abrams had admitted his favorite movies were the original trilogy, and thus he wanted to make a love letter to those movies, and I think The Force Awakens works as a love letter to the original trilogy, too. Yeah, nostalgia automatically goes with the first complaint, but so what? I hate this post-Schaefer-less world where nostalgic elements are seen as counterproductive or cheap to a story.
Basil Oregano, played by Jimmy Smits. He's Princess Leia's non-biological father. He got blown up on Alderaan. Alderaan! That's the planet that gets blown up. ATST's
If you genuinely have any problems with any of the callbacks or Easter eggs to the originals in this movie, then get a life. The general audience likes references to these things, and so they shall remain. And even then, what's wrong with fan service? It's like I always say, I'm a fan, service me. 3. This criticism is straight up rooted in misogyny, and I do not want to give this topic the light of day. Please refer to this Goldman video. And I'm really not trying to absolve this movie of all problems. In fact, one of the criticisms that I have is that it doesn't do a good job at world building in this new time period of the Star Wars universe, and mainly focuses on character building. It leaves the explanation to the state of the galaxy to various books and TV shows, and I think that was kind of a mistake. Also, the lack of any substantial political theme is really annoying. It would have been perfect to explore how fascist groups, when left unpunished, slowly regrow. But in all honesty, these aren't really things I think about much whenever I'm rewatching the movie. And that kind of leads me to another point. I don't like this post-Mr. Plinkett way of analyzing media. I always think it's counterproductive to enjoying whatever movie or show or book by trying to measure its quote-unquote objective aspects. Because that's not how art works, and that's not how the general audience thinks. For example, The Flash resonated well with general audiences, and if I put myself in that perspective of the average Joe going to the movie theater without looking for problems, I come out of the movie thinking, yeah, it was a fun time. Not a fan of that one scene. You know the one I'm talking about.
This is disgusting. This is awful in every way.
Even then, most movies can't have objective meaning derived from them. Like the ending of Whiplash, for example. There are a million different ways to look at it. Was Andrew hijacking the band from Fletcher his last middle finger to him after Fletcher embarrassed him? Or is this them putting aside their differences for one big performance? Who really won in the end? Was it Andrew who became who he set out to be? Or was it Fletcher who in the end got his Charlie Parker? Will Andrew have a long happy career? Or will he die in his 30s as director Damien Chazelle seems to think? And yeah, you can say that this is not related to the quality of a movie in any way, but that's precisely my point. If the experience we get from art is subjective, I don't see why we should assign objective measurements to the quality of a movie. But most people who watch movies don't try and analyze of a movie in great detail like someone like Mahler. Nobody who's normal is going to make a 2-hour plus video about a Star Wars they didn't like and expect everyone to take them seriously. My friend Joe has a video on this topic that I just reiterated, but for more detail, watch their video. So I guess what I seek to accomplish with this video is to provide a love letter to this movie because of its importance and influence on my life. I don't know if I'd be the Star Wars fan I am today if it weren't for this movie, while also defending it from some other unfair criticisms I've seen levied upon it over the years. Alright, movie time. Right away, I think the opening crawl is one of the best in the series. 30 years after Return of the Jedi, a brand new story, and it drops a bombshell on us. Luke Skywalker, the hero we followed for an entire trilogy, to have gone missing. The Empire rises again via the First Order, and they want to find Luke so they can kill him. And sitting there in the theater, my 90-year-old ass was stunned. Like the theater had erupted into uncontrollable excitement just a few seconds prior at the name of the movie, and then started gasping. And after that, the movie doesn't slow down. We immediately see a Star Destroyer blocking the light of a planet and sending down shuttles carrying stormtroopers in a new armor with the lights flickering on onto a planet where we pan down to see a new droid that looks like a soccer ball. And after that, we see an old sage give information to Luke's whereabouts to a Resistance pilot, and then the First Order arrives and attacks the village. To me, the opening of this movie is perfect. It starts in medias res, it sets the goals of our characters right away, shows us everything we need to know, and is so fast-paced and large-scale that it commands your attention. This is something I've noticed about all of J.J. Abrams' movies. They usually have this exact fast pacing that expects your attention and captures it for the full length of the movie, while only periodically slowing down for character moments. This is why J.J. Abrams is one of my favorite directors. His movies feel like you are peeling the fuck down the highway in a fast sports car. And right away, we get some very important and crucial aspects about the First Order. They rose from the remainders of the Empire, but they use asymmetric guerrilla warfare that the Rebellion used. They are much more brutal and ruthless and shown to be animal-like, except for one who mourns the death of his comrade. And as soon as we think that this is the First Order's humanity shining through, we are proven wrong when we are shown that he is an outlier. We'll get to Finn in a minute. But now another shuttle arrives with everyone and their mom's favorite sequel trilogy character, Kylo Ren. He gets called a schmuck by Lord Santeca and then immediately kills him with a cross-guard lightsaber while proceeding to hold a laser in mid-air, flexing his power. And in this movie, we get a parallel between Finn and Kylo Ren, with Finn's bloodstained helmet. When Finn takes off, he's out of breath because he's trapped and suffocating in his mask. He's instructed never to remove, while Kylo Ren willingly puts his on to be like Vader and to hide the fact that he's conflicted. The scene where Finn refuses to execute the villagers shows him breaking free of his mask with resolve. One of my favorite examples of masked, faceless acting is Kylo Ren and Finn staring at each other, with Finn terrified at Kylo silently condemning him for his disobedience. And after that, we cut to Rey's introduction as she's scavenging an old Star Destroyer. Another perfect scene to me. This short 7 minutes tells us so much about Rey without a single word spoken, and entirely through her theme. That's what I love about John Williams. His melodies alone tell an entire story. Just through the scene, we can tell that Rey is lonely, poor, smart, and patient, waiting there for almost 20 years for her parents to return. She admires the rebellion, and despite being content, deep down yearns for more in life. Also, that bread looks delicious. I need it so bad. Right after Rey helps BB-8, Finn helps break Poe out of prison because he's fed up with the First Order. And I love how much chemistry John Boyega and Oscar Isaac have out of nowhere. Two random people bounce off each other so well that people wanted the characters to be gay together. And I hate how Disney kind of split them apart after this escape. It's not really criticism, but I wish they were on screen together more. And during this escape, people have criticized how Finn, a defector, is deciding to kill his old co-workers, and I don't really agree with this. Yes, I think Finn starting a Stormtrooper rebellion would have been really cool for the next two movies, but to force it onto this movie would not have made much sense. Stop, my comrades. What we're doing is evil. We must... It would be pretty jarring because he's in a life or death situation, very much different from the opening where he's forced to execute villagers. Plus, we are shown very soon after that stormtroopers are preyed upon and abducted and brainwashed at a very young age, much how in real life recruiters prey on young adults coming right out of high school, but in this case much younger, and the movie very much paints his defection as an anomaly, or at least one of the first instances of this happening. Then after the crash, Finn makes his way to the marketplace where Rey and BB-8 are at. And again, I think this is a good way JJ's fast-paced direction works, because in the span of 2 minutes, we learn more about Rey. If I'm going to humor any aspect of Rey being a Mary Sue, it's the part where they say she shouldn't know how to wield a lightsaber and beat Kylo Ren, when it's obvious she has some sort of training with a melee weapon, where she's fighting off the goons trying to steal BB-8 using a staff. And a staff and a sword really aren't that different. For more on this topic, watch Turf Nation's video, linked here. We also know the length Finn will go to get away from the First Order, lying to a person who idolizes the myths and legends of the rebellion to get to where he needs to go. Speaking of which, I have a fun little fan theory. I think that the Star Wars Legends continuity, at least some of it, could be the myths Rey talks about when she says that she thought Luke and the Jedi were myths. Because in canon, the Imperials and the First Order spread propaganda that Luke was not a real person, or just propaganda from the rebellion. And it's according to this book right here. I don't quite remember, so I'm putting it on screen. Most likely these legend stories, because I can see them being the ones told within the Star Wars universe, because some of them are being translated into canon. Then the stormtroopers find the two and attack, and JJ puts us onto high gear with another fast-paced action scene. Here's something I haven't praised until now. The effects are really good. You can tell that this movie was made with $400 million in this scene alone. A combination of practical explosions and alien costumes with CGI that 10 years later still hold up. So well that it doesn't even look like a special effect. Like, they just bombed the actors right there. And that's just the Millennium Falcon. I still think, even after The Last Jedi, this is the best looking Star Wars movie. I also think that it's the funniest. This is something I noticed watching J.J. Abrams' Star Trek movies too. He knows how to make a scene funny while dire and urgent without it feeling like tonal whiplash. Like this scene where they're patching up the gas and Finn can't find the right part that Rey needs, and them trying to cause a gas leak again when they think the First Order is about to attack. But it's not the First Order, it's Han and Chewie back on the Falcon again, and I absolutely love Han in this movie. A lot of people criticize the fact that he left Leia and went back to smuggling after Ben turned to the dark side. I see that perspective, but I have to disagree. Like, what happened to Ben is something that could split families apart and have them fall back into old habits. Especially a relationship like Han and Leia's. I can see Leia continuing to fight on to get her son back, but Han being so devastated and not knowing what to do because he's only been in a situation where his heart was broken once when Kira abandoned him. He goes back to smuggling and crime because it's the only thing he knows and can control. This time around, he's more of a swindler to the point where he's got two rival gangs confronting him about it. And I've seen people say that he should have went straight to Ben right after. And he did later in the movie. And he ultimately died. We'll get to that scene later. And I also think this is Harrison Ford's best performance in a movie. He may hate nerd shit, but he's giving 110% to playing Han Solo. You can tell he genuinely deep down has love for the character that made him a star. This next action scene can be described as filler, but it's still a fun action scene nonetheless, with Rey and Finn bonding with each other, and Han and Chewie's eternal camaraderie. It's great stuff, and them jumping to hyperspace in the hangar with a Rathtar attached to them is chef's kiss. And right after that, we meet Supreme Leader Snoke, and if there's anything I'll critique here, it's this scene where they reveal Kylo Ren is Han's son. This is another thing with JJ I don't really like. He puts the reveals and twists far too early in the movies. Like, we're only 50 minutes in the movie, and this is the only scene that even back in the theater kinda left me a little bit confused. I think a much more dramatic and impactful place to put it would be during the attack on Takodana, or during Han's confrontation on Starkiller Base. Preferably on Takodana, because it sets up the third act really well and puts us on the edge of our seats. Or even during this scene where Han vaguely talks about why Luke left the galaxy. He trained a new generation of Jedi, but an apprentice turned against him. If we don't know that Han's son and Luke's apprentice are the same until later in the movie, it becomes an even greater twist. But after that, we arrive at Maz Kanata's castle. I love Rey's awe and wonder at this new planet she's never been to before, and her excitement when Han offers her a job, but her reluctance makes it really sad when she finds out later her parents aren't coming back for her, and that she was on Jakku for nothing. Meanwhile, we see Kylo Ren praying to Darth Vader's helmet, and this scene has caused some people to believe that it ruins Anakin's character for him not to materialize to Ben to talk to him about his past. There are a few problems I have with this criticism. A. Force ghosts can't materialize to non-Jedi Force users. I got a video on it here for more detail. B. We don't know what Snoke filled Kylo Ren's mind with. For all we know, he could have convinced him that Vader was the hero in the end and stayed on the dark side. C. As much as you prequel fanboys don't want to admit it, Anakin was not fully redeemed. Deep down, he was still a bad person because of all he had done. Him killing Palpatine doesn't make it so the other fucked up parts of his mind, his selfishness, greed, and genocidal tendencies, aren't things that go away after he saves Luke. So if Anakin did show up, who's to say he wouldn't have spouted some semi-fucked up shit against the Jedi? And in any event, this scene is to show that he is conflicted about his place in the galaxy, that he is being torn apart and is trapped. He is looking for resolve and to complete his soul. The next scene with Rey and Finn's heartbreaking goodbye and Rey's vision when she touches the saber are so cool. Did you know they spliced dialogue from Alec Guinness as Obi-Wan and combined it with Ewan McGregor's voice? Like, that's just so cool, and way more respectful than what we have now with deepfakes. And the lightsaber not only showing the past, but the future too, right after Maz confirming what she saw in the vision that her parents are dead, but she continues to deny her path, make this a lot to bear for the audience, but the tension does not lower at all. We cut to Hux giving a speech on Starkiller Base ready to destroy the New Republic. The speech in the army being so evocative of a fascist regime is so spine-chilling and so scary. How they manipulate the actual grievances of everyday people in the galaxy, and they co-opt those grievances to give themselves legitimacy in destroying the New Republic. Starkiller Base being an entire planet and being able to destroy multiple planets at once from its part of the galaxy is such an interesting take on the Death Star and elevates it from just being a copy of it. We don't know much about the New Republic, but we're still devastated and terrified at the mass murder occurring. And now we get the First Order's invasion and destruction of Maz's castle, being fought off by the bar patrons, Finn, Han, and Chewie. While Rey fights for her life in the forest, Han and Chewie are swapping blasters. Finn uses a lightsaber for the first time against a stormtrooper with an electric baton. It is so badass. And it shows that the First Order have become so much stronger than the Empire that fighting a single stormtrooper seems like an impossible task. And when all hope seems lost and their heroes are captured, the Resistance arrives, and their theme music sounds like a heroic inversion of the Imperial March. But among the triumph, Kylo kidnaps Rey, and Han and Finn are forced to watch. And thus Han is brought back to Leia for help, and this droid here, who I didn't recognize for a minute because of the red arm. And if you didn't already think Harrison Ford was doing a damn good job, him and Carrie Fisher reuniting is so beautiful, and if done any differently, would not have the same emotional impact. They've spent so much time apart, they don't know what to say to each other, before Han drops the bombshell about Ben. And speaking of perfect reunification, Poe and Finn meeting each other again after they thought each other to be dead. Poe being grateful and happy for Finn is great character stuff, and throughout the entire trilogy, Finn and BB-8 seem to be the only person Poe drops his hotshot arrogant attitude for, showing how natural their friendship is. Going to the third act, I can tell JJ had a lot of fun here, bringing some brevity and humor to the story before going back to the sad stuff. Han trying to reconnect with Leia, but all she wants is for him to bring Ben home. For the first time, we see Han doubting himself. He doesn't believe he could bring Ben back if Luke couldn't do it. This is one of the best Han Solo stories we've ever seen in Star Wars, and Harrison Ford is giving it his all. And if we ever got The Hunt for Ben Solo, this movie, and the Han Solo spin-off movie would have been an excellent trilogy all on its own. Juxtaposed to Kylo Ren trying as hard as he can to get the map from Rey, but she resists him at the disappointment of Snoke, who commands Hux to target the Resistance and destroy them before they get to Luke. Kylo Ren revealing his face to Rey, and Rey seeing right through him, showing how he and Han are conflicted.
Again, it's like poetry, so if they rhyme.
I'm gonna speed through the rest of the movie because I want to get to the parts I really want to talk about. Finn, Han, and Chewie enter Starkiller Base to disable the shields. We get some funny moments where they dump Captain Phasma in the trash and find Rey. They make up and confess their love for each other. Then they begin to place bombs throughout the oscillator when Han sees Ben again and confronts him.
Ben!
An inversion of Vader and Obi-Wan's encounter in A New Hope, and Luke and Vader's encounter in Empire Strikes Back. Han confronts Ben with unconditional love. He walks out onto the bridge knowing there are stormtroopers watching and have guns on him, all out in the open, but he doesn't care. He's desperately trying to reach to him.
I'm being torn apart. I want to be free of this pain.
Even though he's successful, Ben's choice is out of his control. For the moment, you think Han is going to take the lightsaber and bring him home. The moment you think Ben has resolve and will go home, the sun goes out, and he realizes it's too late. He strikes down Han, thanking him for giving him a choice, and as Han is dying, he places his hand on Ben's face to let him know he still loves him after all he had done. Both Adam Driver and Harrison Ford act so well here that I forgot that he is not Harrison Ford's son in real life. And as Han falls into the base, Chewie absolutely loses it, shooting at his nephew and the remaining stormtroopers, not realizing Finn and Rey are there when he blows up the facility, leading to the final duel, coming full circle for Finn's character arc. Before, he and Ben were both trapped within their masks, but now they show who they are inside as Finn confronts his past demon to protect the one he loves. He's an absolute Jedi at this point. And people have criticized not just this fight, but the other lightsaber duels in the sequel trilogy. And yeah, I'm absolutely biased, but I obviously don't agree with this. I like how the duels are slower compared to the prequel trilogy's duels. The choreography suits the characters as people not fluent or even that skilled in lightsaber combat, using heavy strikes, and you can feel the weight and emotion behind each clash. Finn fights like an absolute beast, but unfortunately gets taken out by Kylo Ren before landing one critical strike on Kylo's shoulder. Then the Force awakens within Rey.
Hey, that's the name of the show.
And she grabs the lightsaber as it flies right to her, and she confronts Kylo Ren with it, beginning her path as a Jedi, channeling the Force to defeat him, using it in every strike to slowly chip away at his flesh, before a chasm forms splitting the two, and Rey goes back to save Finn and get off the base before it explodes into a new star. And fun fact, the star that forms after Starkiller Base explodes is named after Han Solo. The star system's name is Solo, named after the GOAT. I think you know the rest. Leia walks past Chewie, R2-D2 comes back to life, they find the map, and Rey searches for Luke. And god damn it, man, I remember being so stoked in the theater. I wanted the story to keep on going on and on forever, but all good things must come to an end. And thus it ends on the cliffhanger. So, Star Wars The Force Awakens. I absolutely love this movie. It's a great love letter to the original trilogy and great start to the sequels. I love how it continues the themes of the originals, that of the virtue of unconditional love and compassion. It's what drives every character and almost brings Ben back to the light. Leia's unconditional love for Luke is what drives her on this mission that engulfs the Resistance, and it's what drives Rey and Finn. Forgiveness comes to Rey very quickly to Finn for his lie, and it's what causes Finn to fight tooth and nail to save her from Starkiller Base. This being my first theatrical experience of Star Wars altered my brain chemistry in an irreversible way. And my only biggest problem with the movie is that I can't erase my memory of it and watch it again. May the Force be with you always.